Welcome to another episode of Motivated Masculine Men, where we help to inspire, educate, challenge men to embrace healthy masculinity, deepen their relationships, optimize their health, and step boldly into their purpose. Today we have Stephen Paul Edwards. We're going to talk a lot about, I think, some relationship stuff today. We're going to talk about ourselves. But Stephen, as I always do, because I have some stuff here which we did before we started recording. You were like, "What did ChatGPT tell you about? Tell me about you." So
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what it told me. It said Stephen Paul Edwards is an international speaker, author, and PhD educated spiritual counselor who whose work centers on health, self discovery, relationships, addiction, vulnerability, and personal transformations. He's also written a candid memoir titled The Venus Flytrap, Sex, Lies, and I'm terrible at reading. So repercussions,
Repercussions.
repercussions. There we go. Thank you very much. My dyslexia there is not working well, which explores the chaos and emotional complexities of obesity, toxic relationships, addiction, and deception from his own lived experience. That's what it says about you from me sharing some of the stuff that your team shared with me and also just using the internet.
That's a lot of stuff, man. I
It
didn't
is a
do
lot of
all
stuff.
Yeah.
Did you know you did all that?
I'm like, I'm impressed. Who is that guy?
I don't know. Hopefully, we'll find out a little bit about him
Yeah,
today. Um,
right.
so, Stephen, tell me, because obviously that's what I know about you and from what your team sent me. Tell me a little bit about who Stephen actually is.
Yeah, because none of that is me. I'm just kidding, but so yeah, so I'm from England, you're from California. I thought I was gonna say, that we were different sides of the world. I didn't
Well,
realize until today you're from California.
yeah,
Um,
from California, but been here. What? I've been here 21 years now.
oh, wow, okay.
So I've lived
Yeah.
here longer than I lived in California. I left the California at 13. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Same for me, Chris. I've been in America longer than I lived in England. I left. Gonna show my age here a little bit. Moved from England when I was 29. What was that? 1989. So that's over 30 years ago. So
I
I
was
was there
two.
20. Were you really?
I
Yeah.
was two.
Oh, let me take that arrow out of my heart and put it over there.
Hey, but with
Beautiful.
age comes knowledge, and that is why we do this podcast, because I want to get as much knowledge from you around things, and especially hearing about the relationship and addiction side. That's where I want to get a lot of knowledge from you today, because that is a huge thing. But sorry, I let
Fair
you
enough, man.
continue on who you are.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, man, when you do run for political office, just let me know because you got my vote. Um, So, a little bit more about me. So I was born in England, just hated school, never went to college, total rebel, had a tough upbringing. I think everybody can say they've had a tough upbringing, right? Traumatic, right?
Yeah,
I never met anybody who had the perfect childhood, right? Or maybe it was perfect, right? And it was set me up for all the challenges in my life. But
exactly.
pretty, all I wanted to do when I was a kid was get out of school and get out of my home and get away. So what I've been doing all my life really is running away from myself because the truth is I'm my home, right? So I've been all over the world, Chris, lived all over the world, right? Um, Not realizing that I was trying to find my own happiness because I was running away from myself. And what do they say? Wherever you go, there you are, right?
Yep, follows you
So
wherever you go.
yeah. So anyway, at one point I had businesses. They all failed, right? All failed at some point, which was fine. I never gave up. I had marriages. They all failed, but I never gave up. So I find myself at one point, this is going back quite a ways, at an event with Tony Robbins. And I know you know who Tony
I
Robbins is.
love Tony.
So, and I just was in awe of what he was doing. And I said, I'm going to do that. Right. So I ended up working for Tony Robbins and going out and speaking and doing events. Yeah.
Wow.
So what I learned, this, through my life is, and you know this as well, we manifest it all, right? We're
Yes.
creating our thoughts, leading to words, leading to actions, and we manifest it all. We're just not aware of it, both the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
So I created this environment. Anyway, working for Tony Robbins was incredible, eye opening, awakening for me. And he led me through his work to meet other gurus. And I was drawn more to the spiritual side. It was interesting listening to your story when you and Caitlin were talking about how you were raised.
Kristen, you mean? Kristen, you
Kristen,
mean?
sorry, Kristen.
That's all good.
Yeah.
There's those
So
name things. There's those name
yeah,
things.
no,
Hey.
I was going to say you didn't know my name either, so we're quick. No,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
anyway, yeah, it was a great conversation. But you were saying, that you were raised by your mom,
Mhm.
right? And I was too, which gave me me to be more in touch with my feminine nature too, right? And so I've always got on very well with women. I get on well with men, but better with women than men. I've been surrounded by women, so I've been I've been in a lot of relationships. Um, and so, but I studied and got into the spiritual side of things.
Mm,
I was heavily involved with the personal development side as well, but eventually I was drawn to the more spiritual side. And then when I left working with Tony, I started my own mind, body, and spirit events. And this is why this whole book thing is kind of ironic because, you see, you spent 25 years in the personal and spiritual development world and you had this ridiculously crazy toxic relationship where all that went out of the window, right? So it's hysterical. And I kind of, as I'm going through the book, I'm making reference to this. Like, I should know better than doing this, right?
yep,
So, most of my life I'd been trying to pull people up, right? Out of their fears and challenges. And when it came to Tamaz, who's in this book, she was pulling me down, right? And I was allowing it to happen, right? So I stopped doing all the things that made me who I am
yep,
and started doing all the things that destroyed her life. So it started to destroy mine.
yep,
So a big part of that is to say, listen, we all have a light side and a dark side to our nature. And if we don't accept both sides of that, then we're never going to be free. We're always going to be in fear of other people finding out who we really are and not being able to live as who we really are. So by going through this relationship, and you probably believe the same thing. Everything happens as it's supposed to, right?
yep,
So I go into this relationship and it gave me, a bigger growth experience, Chris, than working for Tony Robbins or any of the gurus that I've worked for. Not that wasn't profound, but this gave me a freedom that I've never had in my life before. Because by going through this experience and then putting it in a book, right?
yeah.
Humiliating things that I did and have done, right? And putting it out to the world, I go, you know what? There's nothing really left to say. You're not going to be able to say anything to me that I haven't put out there anyway. So I don't have to worry about it anymore, right?
Mhm. Yep,
So that was
so true.
she gave me that big freedom. And it's an incredible story, this whole thing, and that's why I wanted to write it because there's so much to it. Yeah, you haven't seen, I don't know if you've seen the book yet, but if you look at the book,
Yeah,
it
I have seen the cover and it's
you've seen the cover,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So it just says to you, this is an erotic romance, right? Which it is, right? There's a lot of eroticism in there, but it's so much more than that. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So you can't, what do they say? Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yep,
Once you get into the book, you go, "Whoa, this is way deeper than I thought this was going to go." And while there is eroticism in it, you very quickly realize it's a tiny piece of the book in comparison to what else is in there. And so I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it because I faced my fear and wrote it. Right, just put it all out there. Bared my soul, really. Yeah,
yep,
told things that people are going to completely disagree with me, vilify me for. And then some people are going to go, wow, I see myself in that story and be liberated. Let go of shame, let go of their fear of being who they are, not worrying about what people say anymore. Because, I think you guys were talking about it in the interview. If you call it interview, you guys sharing. Um, you've got to be who you are. It's the
yeah,
biggest freedom you can have, right? And be in a relationship, unlike that relationship,
yep,
where you can be who you are and you're aligned. You guys talked about values and how your top 5 values are the same. That's so key, man. But most people don't even know what a value is, let alone what they are, right?
yeah,
And
very
they
true.
certainly don't know what their partner's values are, right?
No,
And
no.
they don't know their rules. We're all brought up by a certain set of rules, usually passed down by our parents, right?
Passed
And then
down
we
by their
find,
parents, passed by that,
and that exactly
and we wonder why.
generational, right?
Yeah, and we wonder why people say that we have generational trauma. It's because it does. It all gets passed down through the generations until you change it.
Definitely. So anyway, man, I don't want to go on too much about where I was. I want to just say, man, I'm so happy to be on your show because I really admire you for what you're doing. And it is so needed in the world right now where men can realize that it's not just toxic masculinity,
Mm,
there is healthy masculinity. And to a large extent, it's been taken away from us by what is going on in our cultures. And we need to get it back for
mm.
the sake of the planet, right? You
Sake
know,
of the planet relationship. I mean, we're a dying population. We're saying
yeah.
we're going backwards. So yes, for the sake of the planet, for also just the sake of our sanity.
Yeah, and Kristen said it's powerful, right? You said I think it was I wasn't sure what the question was. It something what was the worst thing that happened to women? And she said the pill,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That has been it has destroyed our societies. And people don't realize that. It sounds like a stupid thing to say, but when you really look behind what has happened
Mm.
since that came about, you really see it really is. It's really the core of all our problems.
Yeah, it is a massive core because, we all take it for granted these days, the open sexuality side of things and that. And yeah, it's made it so that it's not such a cherished thing. Which is so true. It's something that a lot of people don't realize, like, as she said in that conversation, it's not something that people would actually probably put to her that she would actually, believe that those sides of things. So, yeah, it was a great conversation, that one. Go check it out, people. There's a little drop.
Yep.
Uh, but Steven, so you said multiple relationships. I'm curious because obviously you've written a book about relationship and around, addiction and that, but relationship, how many relationships have you had?
Okay, let me get a
Into
calculator.
into intimate ones. Let's, like, where you classify them as serious relationships, not the, let's just have a little bit of fun relationships, which we all love, especially as guys at times.
All right, let me get an abacus and a computer or something to add this up. So, um, whenever I'm in a relationship, Chris, I'm all in. Like everything I do, man, I'm intense, right?
Yeah,
As you can probably tell already, I'm totally intense.
I love it.
So, so to say, was never into one night stands or flings. I was always like, made that relationship the center of my life.
Mm.
Maybe too much so, right? Well, not maybe, too much so. Um, so I've had a lot of deep relationships. So, I had 4 marriages before I met Tomas, right? So I was just coming out of my 4th marriage. So, nobody can criticize me for trying. But,
So
people say, "Well," yeah. Okay, go ahead.
sorry, Steven, so on that, okay, so 4 marriages, still with tomorrow, the 5th marriage, or is that one, gone as well?
We never got married.
Never got married, still together?
No.
No, okay, cool, so
We
let's
said book goes into explaining there's pretty crazy reasons for that, right?
sounds like it.
We still love each other like crazy, but we can't be in the same room together.
Sounds like my parents a little bit. They can be in the same room now, but there was a while where, yeah, no. But yeah, they love each other dearly. They should have broke up so much longer ago. But anyways, we dive into different conversation. Uh, so five. Let's just put it as 5 serious relationships. You obviously learned a lot from it. That kind of, you've learned all this stuff, but weren't actually enacting it. Uh, I want to know, what is the key thing that, you recognized is the pattern. Again, we're both Tony Robbins fans, so we'll use some of his language. The patterns that you saw in the relationships, because I'm all about, one of the reasons I started this podcast, and this goes out for everybody that's watching and listening. One of the reasons I started this podcast is my wife and I were sitting at Disneyland, Tokyo, and I'm trying to figure out how I can contribute more. I work in sales now. I don't do my own coaching business anymore. And I'm like, how do I contribute more to people? And I was like, what is the thing that I have what's the problem that I can solve? And we were like, well, one, she's like, Chris, you are the most confident guy in who you are. And number two, our relationship is, people constantly say how great our relationship is and they wish they had that or they could find it. So why don't you look at the two of those? And so when you say about relationships and you write a book about relationships, my ears perked straight up and I went, cool. I want to learn from Steven on the things that he has learned over all the years. Again, from that relationship, one for my own, so I can continue it. I mean, I've been married. We're just coming up this week, coming up. My wife and I are coming up to, I'm going to get this wrong, 12,
14
13
14
years,
years.
13,
14 years.
14 years, 13 years. No, 13 years. It's 2012 we got married,
Oh,
so 13
oh,
years.
okay. Well, you guys said 14 on the
Did we
then you
say
said you
14? Okay, cool. Well, we both got it wrong then. But we've been together like 18 years. So we've been together for a long time, longer than most relationships will ever last.
Yes. Yes.
But I want to also keep growing and making sure that the relationship
Mhm.
stays. So the reason I bring this out is because again, men out there listen to the things that, I feel I've done right, listen to things that Steven has identified that he's done wrong and that I know he's working on, and that he talks about because this is going to be so important for helping, all the guys out there. So, what is it that is the pattern that you saw in yourself that you kept repeating, and have you identified how you can change it?
Okay, great. Yes. So first of all, I just want to clarify something.
Yeah,
The reason we can't be in the same room is not because we argue, right? It's because we're still crazy about each other and we would end up going and back through the whole thing again, right? So, which is not,
that's a good problem to have, but
it's a good
it's the
problem to
one that you
have.
don't want
Yeah.
to reenact.
And trust me, the temptation to go back and reconnect with her when I was writing the book, because it all came back, right? And but I resisted because it's destructive for both of us, right? um, which the book gets into. It's not that simple, right? But anyway, to get back to your question, patterns, yes. So sometimes people say to me, 4 marriages, holy shit, what was wrong with all these women? And I would say, look, it's a simple question of math, right? So 4 marriages, only one constant in all 4 marriages.
Yep.
So let's do the math here, right? Who is the one well, the one thing is me, right? So it's on me. I'm drawing these relationships into my life and I'm not getting what I need to learn, right?
Mhm.
And so the patterns, as they normally do, very often, not every time, it's a generality, but usually come from your childhood. Your relationships with your parents. And as I said, my my childhood was pretty traumatic. So amongst other things, I ended up being in an asylum when I was 16, right?
Oh,
A
wow.
mental institution when I was 16. So I say my parents drove me crazy, which they actually did in a way, right? But anyway, and here's the irony is Tamaz was also put in a mental institution when she was 16 years old.
Mm.
So we were mirrors of each other,
Yeah.
both working out our childhood trauma on each other, right? Which is, the whole thing is insane. And so I was diagnosed as being back then it was a manic depressive, right? But now
Yep.
would be called bipolar.
Yep.
And she'd never been diagnosed, as far as I knew in the beginning. But she couldn't get out of that mental institution, so she was traumatized. And her father had put her in there, and never in her mind, in her perception, believed that he loved her.
Mm.
So she grew up extremely angry at men and wanted to basically, in a in a very down to earth way, kick the shit out of her father, right? And wanted to prove to him she didn't need him, that he's a billionaire, right? So she wanted to prove to him that she was worthy of his love by being financially successful.
Yep. Yep.
It's crazy, right? So, which she was. She did very well. She was an international supermodel for years. She was on the front cover of Vogue's.
Oh,
She was
wow.
in movies. She was just an incredibly talented model in front of the camera, which I completely exploited. But anyway, so she was, but she didn't feel it because her father still didn't take any interest in her, and in her mind, right?
Yeah.
So every man that she was with in her mind, because she's incredibly beautiful, only wanted her for one thing, which was sex. And I did want her for sex, but I also loved her as a person because she's an incredibly dynamic, super intelligent woman that I fell in love with, right? But what she wanted to do initially was destroy me, take all my stuff, right? I had I had supercars, I had Bentleys, Rolls Royces, I had a mansion with a sex room, which we also exploited. Um, so all this is going on, and all she wanted to do was destroy me. So the Venus flytrap is a beautiful metaphor. She was the flytrap, and I was
Yeah.
the fly.
Yeah.
Right.
Was that conscious or subconscious?
Well, that's a great question. Here's what happened. So we met online, right? No surprise there. Um, and I just saw her pictures online. I went, oh my god, this is this woman is amazing, right? And she was obviously from wealth. She was spoiled. She was a brat, right? She got everything she wanted. She was an equestrian show jumper. She lived in Brazil. She lived in Paris. She lived in Miami, LA. Um, and I just was attracted to her, right? So anyway, it took a while for me to persuade her to actually go and have a coffee with me, right? And I'm not very good at chasing women. I'm just going to be honest, right? I'm like a little kid. I'm so terrified of rejection, right? But for some reason, she was so beautiful. I just thought, screw it. I got nothing to lose. If she blows me off, she blows me off. Anyway, she did blow me off a couple of times, but finally, I get her to go on a date with me. It was supposed to be, I was going to hire her as my personal assistant, and we were going to go to dinner for the interview, right? But she knew it was just that, she knew. She said, we were going for dinner. She said, well, I hope I get the job, this kind of thing. She was very witty and sarcastic as I am, right? So anyway, I made all these crazy arrangements for this first date. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. It went so far over the top, it was crazy. I'm thinking, I'm going to tie this, I'm going to tie this bitch down. I'm just kidding about bitch. I'm going to tie this girl down, right? I say in the book, I didn't know that she actually liked being tied down. But anyway, I said to her at one point, I'm texting her, right? And I said, I'm like, I'm gonna let her know made all these arrangements, and I'm gonna let her know that I'm gonna buy her flowers, right? So I said to her in a text, "What's your favorite flower?" And she said, "Bird of paradise." And
Mm.
I text back, joking, "Nuh-uh, it's mine too. It's a bit expensive." I go, "It's a bit expensive though. So what's your second favorite?" She texted back, Chris, in a nanosecond, Venus Flytrap.
Oh, wow.
She named herself.
Yeah,
She told me who she was, right? On the one side, she was this beautiful flower. On the other side, she was a Venus flytrap.
yeah,
And I was the fly. And there was the metaphor. And it's a beautiful metaphor because she was trying to devour me the whole time. And
yep,
I was just trying to get away and save my ass from being devoured.
yep,
And so these hysterical stories throughout the book of when she tried to do that. And I finally managed to get away, which totally freaking confused her and blew her mind.
yeah.
But that also became the tension for the relationship. She's very competitive. I'm competitive. She wanted to win. I wanted to make sure she didn't. And so these crazy things happen around that.
S Yeah, it's crazy how when you look back on it, how you can see all you can see all of it, can't you?
Yeah, so true. You can't see it when you're in it. You have to look back in hindsight.
So what's caused you to not be able to for you both to not be able to move through it and stay together?
Okay. Well, it's going to be for those people who are going to read the book. This is a, what do you call it? Spoiler alert. Don't
Spoiler
listen to
alert,
this.
yeah.
Spoiler alert. So I told you that we both had mental illness, right?
Yeah.
And I have a very good friend who's in the book as well. He's hilarious as well, Jerry. He was my conscience, right? He was my conscience, trying to get me to see
Yeah.
the right
Your
thing. Yeah.
Jiminy Cricket,
He
yeah.
right? He was trying to help me the whole time, and he'd be like, "Oh my god, there's no helping this guy." Anyway, Christmas comes along, and he buys me a bundle of books about psychology, different aspects of psychology, and one of them was a book called "I Hate You, Don't Leave Me,"
Mm,
and it's a book about borderline personality disorder. And as I'm reading it, she's there on the page of the book,
mm,
everything, all the things that were happening. So number one, that gave me compassion for her because I'm like, oh, now I understand where it's coming from. It's not really her fault, blah, blah, blah. And then I read, it says in the book that borderline personality disorder is treatable and that you can learn to live with it. And so what I heard in my head was, it's curable.
how do I fix her?
Yeah. And it's not curable, Chris. You
No,
can't cure it.
no.
The only way that you can deal with it is if you have therapy like 3 times a week. Well, she would never even go to therapy after her experience at the asylum when she was 16.
Yeah,
She'd be terrified of anybody finding out what she had and then putting her in asylum,
yeah.
which probably she should have been. But I should have probably been with her in the same room. But anyway, so in the
That
end,
would have been an
that
interesting
would have been
video.
interesting. Yeah. We did have a lot, like, you guys have a lot of conversations. We had a lot of conversations too. And she's brilliant. She's very intelligent, right? And she would change my perception on so many things. But back to the story here. In the end, what I had to realize, Chris, is I mean, the madness. You have to read the book to understand the absolute madness that went on and things she did and things I did, things we did together. But I was literally losing my mind. I was literally going crazy. I was lost. I'd already lost myself, and I was in danger of losing any sense of reality. And so I had to come to the conclusion and the realization that like you just said, I couldn't save her. There was nothing I could do.
Uh,
And all I could do was save myself. And so it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I had to let it go. I had to completely cut ties in every aspect, every possible way so she couldn't reach me and I could recover.
mm,
Now I'm not recovered. I still love her like crazy, right? And that's what I'm saying. If she came into the room, it would all start again. Just like a heroin addict. She was my heroin,
mm,
right? And if you're a heroin addict and you get off heroin, you're not off heroin.
no. Well, it's just like myself with PTSD. It never actually goes away, but
Right.
but you learn to cope with it, and it becomes quieter and quieter and quieter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, you got
Mm,
it, man. That's exactly right. Yeah. Now, a lot of people that have PTSD actually have borderline personality disorder and they don't know because it's diagnosed, misdiagnosed. Borderline personality disorder is many people have it that don't know. More women than men have it or have been diagnosed with
what
it
do you
that
mean?
they're confused.
My wife has like 23 different personalities. So what are you talking? I mean,
She's got to have one.
we all know this.
She's got to have one more and she's in. She's in the club. No, I'm kidding. Right? But in the book, it explains there are 9 symptoms of borderline personality disorder. So you can categorize it.
Yeah,
She had all 9 to the nth degree, right?
yeah,
Really intense. So, yeah, so it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And like I said, she's my heroine. And if I ever was in a room with her again, like a heroin addict taking another shot, it's all over.
yeah.
I know that. I just know that. I have to realize that I can't be with her, even though there's a side of me that still would want it, right? That does want it.
Here's a question for you. Is she? So you mentioned around like she needs for the the condition that she has, we'll call it that, that she'd need like therapy like 3 times a week, and she's not will obviously because of past history, not willing to do it. I know so many, again, background ex law enforcement. I know so many law enforcement officers that have been to psychologists once, and they're like, I gave the psychologist more trauma. It's a running joke in law enforcement and even military
Yeah.
first
Mhm.
responders. It's a running joke. I gave the psychologist or the counselor, whoever it is that they're talking to, more trauma than I have myself. Like then then they can help deal with me. And so it's become this thing of like people they just don't trust to go to it. I have to just put my hand up and say the first psychologist that I saw halfway through my career, just looking back on it, just fed into my darkness that I already had of wanting to run away and escape. So when you said around like her not wanting to do that, cool, valid, all that. Does she currently do work on herself to better herself in that aspect? No. Okay, cool. This leads me into if she did, do you think the relationship would continue? No?
Um, Her father, he and I became friends.
Mm,
And he tried to save me so many times, right? The first time I spoke to him, Chris, she was in my house somewhere. I didn't know where she was. She'd gone freaking ballistic all day long, 10 hours into the situation, right? And I had my friend come over because I knew she was going to go off because I'd found out that she was drinking in the house
mm.
and she'd left an open bottle of Captain Morgan's rum
Love me
in the
some Captain Morgans.
so instead of me saying, okay, that's it, I'll enjoy the weekend, drop her off at home on Sunday, I wanted to fix it, right? Because
Yeah.
I did not want to break up with her.
We're guys though. We love to fix things.
We love to.
It's a masculine trait.
So
We love to fix things.
she was like the kitchen sink to me. I'm going to figure out how this plumbing works and I'm going to fix it. So anyway, so she's hiding in the house and she's trying to bait me into an argument where I get physical with her. And I knew that she was trying to do that, right? I didn't know the full depth of what I was faced with. But I couldn't find her in the house, so she'd given me her father's phone number, foolishly, and I called her father, and he answered the phone. which sometimes people do. Anyway, he picked up the phone, and then so I introduced. He had never met me at this point, right? I didn't know who the hell I was. So I'm telling him, I'm dating his daughter, right? Trying to be respectful and everything. And he goes, I said, Mr. Kingston, I don't know if you know this or not, but Tamaz is an alcoholic. And he goes, oh, yeah, I know. He said, you have no idea how many times I put her through rehab. I spent $100,000 on one rehab for her. She just checks in and then she checks out again. She's out of control. He said, I can't even have her in my house anymore. When she comes over, she's a sweetheart. And then 3 days later, she turns into a monster. I can't do it. He says, is she in your house? I didn't say yes, or I just said, yeah. He said, well, get her out and don't ever let her back in again. If you let her
Oh
back in
god.
your house, you're a fool. Right.
Mm,
Later on, so I did, obviously, and we got back together, even though she called the sheriff's department, got me arrested, almost got me arrested. If I hadn't had my friend there who, unbeknownst to me, recorded what she'd been saying, the police were ready to ship me off. If they had, and they explained this to me, if we'd have taken you to jail, she could have got a restraining order against you. She's in your house. She's a guest. You can't tell her to leave. You have to evict her.
mm,
She could have been here for 6 months and taken everything you have.
yeah. I've
And I'm
seen it
like,
happen. I've seen it
I
happen.
had no idea. So her father tells me she's done that a bunch of times to different guys, right? And then later on, when he when I didn't throw her out and I stayed with her, we all went out for dinner one night. And he said, "How's it going then?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, what did I tell you? Right? So anyway, he told me at one point, he said, "Stephen, listen, she's so damaged that if you got the best 10 psychologists in the world in the room with her, she would run rings around them.
Mm,
They'd have no chance because he's a genius, right? What he's done and what he does is incredible. But she got his intelligence genes, but she's used them in the negative way, right?
yeah.
Unfortunately. But underneath all that, Chris, she's just protecting herself
Well, it's all these,
because
it's
she's
all this,
yeah,
all of it. Anytime it's either you're always trying to protect yourself from something,
yeah. She just wants to be loved for who she is, but she's never been able to find that because she's never loved herself.
Mm,
You know, she's never loved herself. The way what she thinks of herself is you don't even want to repeat the words, right? Or what she
mm.
thinks. Yeah, it's sad. So, but of course, that endears you to someone even more, right?
Yeah. Of course, especially as a guy, when we
Yeah,
fall in love with somebody, all we wanna do is help make them better. There is, again, masculine traits. We wanna
yeah.
fix it, we wanna help them, we wanna make it better. The question I have, Steven, is for yourself, obviously 4 marriages, 5, well, technically 5, I
It's not
guess.
the world record, but I'm on my way.
Yeah, you're on your way. What's your part to play in all 5 of them? 4 marriages, 5th relationship. Like, what is it, what's the key thing that you feel like, again, this is where that conversations we don't normally have portion of the title. What is it around those 5 deep relationships that of yourself that you are currently working on or have identified, if you have identified that this is a possibility of of the problem, we'll call it the problem, of the challenge,
Yeah.
of finding a relationship that doesn't explode?
Or the patterns, right? As
The
you said
pattern,
earlier.
yeah.
All right. So the pattern is projecting my issues onto somebody else and not owning them. So what are those issues? Well, I think what most of us face: insecurity,
Mm,
self worth, fear of abandonment, um, um, which it's all wrapped up into those in essence, right? How did they manifest themselves? Well, I would push people away because I didn't think I was lovable. I thought, you're going to leave me at some point, so I may as well push you away. It's all subconscious, right?
yeah,
And the reason it was subconscious because I wasn't ready to face that.
yeah.
And what
How'd
Tomas
you
did,
become ready? How'd you become ready to face that? And have you faced it?
well, here you just got to read one of my books. I'm just kidding. No,
Hey, it could be true. It could be true. It definitely, I'd say, is true.
Yeah, well, it's like people say to me, why did you stay in this relationship? It was so toxic. Why did you do that? Um, because you will until you've had enough,
Yeah,
right? And what happens is, and we're guilty of it probably more than men want to fix things, right? And we want to fix people and we want to help people and we want to say, no, don't be in that relationship because it's bad for you. No, it isn't.
Mm.
No, it isn't. It's what you need
Yes, right, right,
unless
right.
it isn't, right? So if we tell people this relationship is really bad for you, need to get out, and they go, yeah, okay, you're right, and they get out, that was the right time.
Mm,
If they stay in the relationship, it wasn't the right time. It doesn't make you wrong for saying it, but what we just got to do is be there for for the person at the end when they finally get it and they are ready, right? So I was going through a process that I needed to go through,
mm,
like my life depended on it because it did. My life depended on her coming into my life and doing that. So I think of her like as a soul, as a spirit that made a sacrifice for me to come into that life, lower her vibration sufficiently so she could do those things for me, not to me, for me to wake up to who I am. So I have nothing but love and respect for her and gratitude, right? For taking me through that process. Um, and the fly got away in the end, even though the fly didn't want to leave, right? The
yep,
fly wanted more of that damn nectar out of that flower, right? But
yep.
knew he had to let it go. Had to let it go.
Question
So
for you. So for the younger guys that are listening to this, because if I look at my stats, my age bracket's between 25 and 40, really.
yeah. Okay.
So if we're talking to those 25 to 40-year olds, I know it's a fairly decent bracket, but let's just go, 25 to 35, that 10-year gap. How can guys, because, Tony talks about this, all the gurus talk about this, how do we accelerate that knowledge, learn that knowledge, and then so that we can accelerate ourselves to become, better, a better person, a better version of ourselves. How could a younger man who's getting into relationships, or maybe he's, looking for one, or he's in one that is very challenging, uh, what would be the key, I don't know, 3 things, or what would be the words of wisdom that you would give to him to help accelerate him to get to where you are now, where you're like, "Hey, I know that I have to go through all these things and that it's gotta be the right time, but I also want to learn more and accelerate this process." What would you
Yeah.
say to him?
First of all, good luck. I'm just kidding. So what I would say was, you've got, it's an inside job, right?
Mhm,
It's inside of you, and so one of the keys is having the right beliefs, right? So if you believe that your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance is doing it to you, you've missed the boat.
mhm,
You're never gonna get anywhere. You're gonna tread water. What we have to come to the understanding is that nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. Now, that's a challenging belief to take on because it seems so real. No, 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 you don't understand. Look, she did this and she did that. No, she did it
mm,
for you to feel the way you're feeling and realize that feeling isn't coming from her. She can't create that feeling in you. You are creating that feeling yourself inside of you. And if you want to not feel that anymore, you've got to change the way you believe as what is happening. And if you can own that I'm creating it, it's like a miracle. If you understand, you learn, you experience, you don't need that in your life anymore. And it will literally disappear. It will no longer happen. It's that simple. It's like a
mm,
miracle, right?
yeah,
Um, but until then, there's no magic potion. There's no individual therapist. There's no book that is gonna help you until you come to that realization. And then the second thing is to say, not only um, does everything happen for you, not to you, but you're creating it.
mm,
Nobody else. You are manifesting that experience. And that seems crazy because people don't believe that they can manifest.
yeah.
We're manifesting machines. We never stop,
I think
right?
people have a misconception of what manifestation is. People think, "Oh, I can manifest $1,000,000 and it'll just show up in my bank account." No, you can manifest that you want $1,000,000, and so you get laser focused on that $1,000,000, and then you start to create ways and patterns to get that $1,000,000. That's the
Exactly.
difference between manifestation and just being an idiot. I'm just gonna be straight with it, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what you will do, though, if it becomes your focus, is you will create miracles because people, situations, circumstances will come up in your life that no one could have ever imagined.
Mm.
When you get laser focused, when you find your passion in life, your purpose in life, it all starts to change. The whole thing starts to change before you, and doors start opening for you, right? You got to step through the door,
Yeah.
right? You've got to take advantage of those opportunities and probably work your ass off, but it won't feel like work in the same way that going to a job you hate will.
Yeah.
If you're following your passion, it's going to take effort and a lot of effort, right? But it'll feel like you'll wake up early in the morning, you'll go to bed late at night because you're driven by it. You don't feel like, "Oh, gotta get out of bed." Well, some days you will, but the majority of the time, right? Majority of the time, you're so excited, it's like sometimes you have to slow your mind down
Mm.
in order to get to sleep, and then you wake up early and you're excited about life. So, I think those would be the keys, not overwhelming someone with a list of 21 things you gotta do, do because that'll never happen, right? Um but just say, but what it means is not just saying it, but really believing it viscerally.
Mm.
Now you still forget.
That physiology behind it.
100%, man. 100%. Yeah. Now you'll still forget sometimes. You will still feel like a victim sometimes, but that time that you spend in victimhood will, like you just said about what you were talking about, it gets less and less and less.
Mm.
The time between you coming back to that belief becomes less and less.
Well, you create a new it's just like going to the gym. You create a new pattern, you create a new habit, you flex that muscle. And I'll give an example, obviously, as we've already discussed and I've talked about on previous podcasts, again, been married for, the 13, 14 years, whichever one it is. But and together, over 18 or just ticked over 18. The thing that I remember is as a cop when I was had lots of different stuff going on, but I remember when I went to police college, so I went to training, and I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna propose to Kristen at police college at graduation." So all the guys got behind it. Some of them were like, "Oh my god, like, don't why are you doing this?" And you had both sides of the coin. Majority were like excited for me, coming up with ideas on how we could do it. We could get all the patrol cars and put lights and everything on around us while I do it, and all this and that. And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna keep it pretty simple." But so there was all of that. Came out of police college, was like, oh my god, like guys would talk about, especially the more senior cops, the crustier ones, would be like, oh, we'd see a hot woman, they'd be like, oh my god, blah, yet they're married, and talking about that again, shifting that focus a little bit. I was like, nah, I've got the best woman, ever at home. She's gorgeous. And then I found myself, and I can actually look back at it. I started to actually lead into, because of the people I was hanging around with, and because of the words that we're using and the focus that I was having. I started to say that same language. I started to say, "Ooh, she's hot." Like, "Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. I'd like that." And then I started to shift. Add that into all the other stuff that was going on, the trauma and not dealing with the traumas and all that. I started to look at other women. I didn't keep looking at Kristen the same way. Our relationship started to break apart. Our relationship started to we used to we'd have more argument, we'd have more discussions, I'll call them, because we don't really argue or yell and scream at each other, but we'd have these discussions. I'd stop putting focus on her and doing things for her and how do I make her life better, not from a place of wanting something in return, but just because I love her. And I stopped doing those, and I started to shift my focus. And this is where that manifestation comes in. I started to manifest a shit relationship, and guess what? I almost cheated on her and I almost got a divorce. Yes, I'm simplifying it, but
Mhm.
that is the whole thing of like what you were saying. As soon as I did the work on myself and realized, hey, wait a second, I'm doing this. I still find myself to this day, sometimes I'll stop focusing on her, on how do I just contribute to her? How do I contribute to our relationship? And when I do that and I focus on it, I manifest the best relationship that I can possibly have, the one that I wrote down at a Tony Robbins relationship, Tony Robbins date with destiny, that he has. I don't know if you've been to it. The relationship day, he has you write down the ideal relationship. I still have it somewhere in one of my drawers. I think about that one and I manifest, and I'm consistently trying to manifest that. Yes, I fall off of it, but from the perspective of somebody who's been married for, this long and has worked on all those things that you just said a guy needs to work on. It is so true, and it is uh, I have the best relationship in the world when I just focus on how do I just give to her? How do I create her life better?
Yeah.
Versus how do I
Yeah.
get stuff from her? How do I get
Yeah.
sex from her? How do I get the
Yeah.
intimacy? How do I heal that inner childhood who's wounded? instead of just going, "Cool, I'm going to just give to her," and that inner child actually is loved and cared about, and focus on that. I just
Yeah,
wanted to
man.
drop that in there, Steven. What are your thoughts on that side from the other side of the coin?
So true. You know, and Tony says the secret to living is giving,
Hmm,
right? And it's so true. It's such a simple 4 words, but they're so powerful.
hmm.
Um, he worked with people that had depression. You know, he ended up working and teaching psychologists, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
he
me
did.
too.
Yeah.
He
I had it. I had it. I still have doubt. I wouldn't say I have depression anymore, but I would, I have those down days. But yeah, when I was going through all my trauma, I definitely was
Yeah.
depressed.
So you and I, right? I suffered from manic depression, right? More depression than mania. Um, and so he talked about depression. He didn't know that about me, right? But I was listening to him and he would say, look, they did all these studies at the University of California, San Francisco, where they got people to stand in front of a mirror for 10 minutes and just smile, look up and smile. You heard it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I've
And,
heard it. It's so true.
and they couldn't feel depressed.
No.
And then I heard a quote from Mother Teresa, right? And somebody once asked her, Mother Teresa, I'm feeling terrible, you know, I'm suffering this and that and the other. Can I get rid of this? How can I stop feeling this way? And she said, go find someone who is in need and help them.
Yeah. You won't feel depressed.
You won't feel it. You won't feel it. So yeah, date with destiny, man. That is an incredible. I mean, I always say to people, if there's any way you can get there, you got to get there. But that's where he talks about values and rules, right? That's what he says. You know, how does anybody know your rules? You were brought up in a different household with a different set of rules. You get in a relationship, someone breaks your rules, and you're like, "What are you doing?" And I didn't even know that was your rule, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then the rule, he calls them rules, or the definition of words. Depression. What's your definition of I remember when we did the values day, man. Like, we're gonna, for the audience, we're gonna go off on a Tony. I'm gonna go off on a Tony Robbins spiel here. If you don't like him, cool, fast forward, whatever you need to do. But come back to the episode. But I can tell you, I was I went from being depressed, being steps off suicidal. I wasn't trying to figure out how I kill myself, but I ride a at the time I was riding a 140 horsepower crotch rocket, and I didn't care if I died.
Yeah,
That's probably a scarier place to be, in my opinion, than when you're actually trying to figure out, you're trying to commit suicide, because you're more likely to harm others when you're in that state of don't
yeah,
care if you die.
yeah,
Um, Not seeking it, but don't care. So you do stupid stuff so you feel things. And I was at that stage. I almost cheated on my wife, asked for a divorce, did a US motorcycle trip just to have conversations like this. Um,
yeah,
and then I came back and didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. My mom said, "I'll buy you the ticket to go to Date with Destiny. You guys just have to get your own way there and pay for your
wow,
accommodation and all that. But I'll pay what was it, $6,500 US per
yeah,
ticket for
yeah,
the two of you to
yeah,
go." And I went, "Cool, I'm
yeah,
going." And it
yeah,
shifted my life 180 degrees. It
yeah,
completely changed the trajectory of me. And so this is why I'm so passionate about that. And then I went into NLP work and I did all these different sides of things. A little bit of backstory. But on that, when he did relationship day, I remember, you probably know it because you were with him for so long. He has you get together with your buddies, and you're in your buddy group, and you sit next to with your buddy. I happen to have two of them because one of the people next to me, the buddy disappeared halfway through.
it happens. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
happened. So I ended up with 2 buddies. My non-actual buddy I'm closer to and I'm still in touch with quite regularly now versus my actual buddy. He was great as well, though. But so yeah, so I go off on a tangent there, but we go through the values day, and I remember going through the values and going, "Yep, cool. Okay, these are my values. These are the ones that I want to shift and change to." And there's a process to finding it. But then you go into the rules of it. And I'm like, "How am I still alive?" I literally turned to the person next to me and I went, "How am I still alive?" She went, "Yeah, how are we still alive?" Because the rule to be happy was so far-fetched, and it was never reachable. Yet the rule to be depressed was
it
so
was easy.
easy and attainable. To be
Mhm.
depressed, all I had to be was sad.
Yeah,
No wonder I felt depressed all the time, because sadness is so easy to find. Happiness, things had to be aligned, and I had to be having fun, and I had to be, be enjoying myself. I had to have peak performance. I had to be, have all these different things. And I was like, yeah, no wonder I'm never feeling happy.
yeah, yeah. We make it impossible for ourselves.
Yeah, and so for ourselves as a men, there is if we look at the world around us, and we look at the language that is being thrown at us, the social media scrolling of whoever you follow or whatever. It's not even whoever you follow anymore. It's just whatever you like and share. You start to get that thread of. We become that. You start to feel it, and last year I found work was starting to I was like, "Oh my god, I can't be here anymore. It's too much. It's all these different things." It's actually busier now than it was at work last year, but I'm happier because of the way that I've shifted that focus.
Right.
So, Stephen,
Yeah.
what have you learned over the years when it comes to all that side of things and also working so closely with Tony? What are some of the things that you've picked up for you that you could share that somebody might be like, "Oh my god," like, for me, the rules of let's shift that language around how to create happiness, how to create love, how to, all those things. What would be your key things that you have picked up on over all the years?
Yeah, well, one of them is something that you've been talking about a lot, right? So, like when you were with your buddies as a cop
Mm,
and how you started to talk like them, do things like them, and how that led you away, because that's the environment. We become our environment, right? And we don't even realize it's happening. So, like if a child is born in China, there's a pretty strong possibility it's probably going to speak Chinese, right?
probably.
Because we become our environment, right? So, that would be the first thing: is be careful who you hang around with.
Mm,
Hang around people who are going to inspire you to be the best you can be, who are going to challenge you, not the people that you feel better than, right?
yeah.
Be around the people that are going to push you, who are going to challenge you, who are going to say, you're better than that. You could do this, and let me show you, and be mentors to you.
Mm.
Not try and be better than you either, right? But try and help you become the best man you can be.
Is it that saying, be the dumbest person in the smartest room or something along those lines?
Yeah, never be the smartest person in the
Yeah,
room. Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to be the dumbest. Don't be the smartest, right? Because you got nowhere to go. All
There's
that's
that
gonna
language.
happen.
There's that language.
Well, we can get into language, understanding that your language is extremely powerful. You know, words have power. Now, in terms of influence, they only have about 7% out of 100%, and 38%. That is physiology, right? But
Yep.
words do have power, right? So our thoughts, our words, and our actions are actually vibratory fields of energy.
Mm,
They're creative. That's how we're creating, right? So, as Tony would say, have a I'm gonna forget what the term is, but you've got to be at the door of your mind and not let
yeah. Be
anything
the
in.
be the gatekeeper of your own
Be the
mind.
gatekeeper of your own mind, right? So be careful what you say. Uh, be careful what you think. Those thoughts become real, right? So most people are focused on the negative because society gets us that way, right? One of the primary uh, perpetrators of that right now, and that's not the right word, but is social media,
Yeah.
right? 90% of it's negative. Get off there, right? Or if you are going to be on there, be focused on groups and people that are going to enrich you,
Yes.
right? Um, get out of the politics. It's stupid. It's nonsense. Both sides are completely crazy and they want to drive you crazy, right? They want to create disparity. They want us to hate each other. They want to create an environment where we don't come together as people, divide and conquer, right?
Mm.
All these people that are out there saying all this garbage about how the other side is this, that, and the other. You know what they do every night? They go to the pub together. They go to the bar together and they drink together and laugh about it, right? Because it's nonsense, right?
And social media feeds that in as well, and the news. The news and social media is terrible. Like they will pick up a snippet of some small little conversation that is negative because it'll get more clicks. But yeah, that whole conversation, if you majority of the time, if you listen to the whole conversation, it actually was completely different. It was just one little snippet of using something as a reference to then come into something completely different.
Yeah, and this is how you get clicks on social media
Mm,
by saying crazy things, by being what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial.
yeah.
No one's gonna, nobody wants to click on something that says, now, do you want to learn how to grow roses? I mean, like, do you want
How not to
do
kill your roses is
there you
the
go.
topic that they
There
would
you
use.
go.
Yeah, how not to kill
Do
your
something
roses.
instead, yeah. But I
Instead
mean,
of how to grow your roses. Yeah, yeah, totally.
I don't know how much you keep up with here, and I'm sure you do. I mean, it's hard not to keep up with what's going on in the United States right now. I mean, look at it, man. It's a mess,
But
and it's
the
all
problem is, let's go down this rabbit hole for a second because, as men, we are my I think of me as a man, under like 3 Ps, like the 3 Ps. So provide, protect, and preside, or procreate. If you're going to, if you want to, I'm not having kids. I'm childless by choice. So mine's preside over kind of, relationship, friends, family. Not from a domineering, uh, but anyways, so when I think about that, we have to think about our environment, as you said. With politics, it's a huge thing. With people that we hang around with, so we also do have to look at this. That melting pot of the US right now, I don't know what to believe because there's so much stuff that is thrown around and you see both sides, and I do my best to look at both sides of all the stories, especially being an ex-cop. I say there's 4 things. There's what happened, there's what he said, there's what she said, there's what happened, and then there's the truth. Because you'll never actually find out because even if you were there, you would have seen it completely different and your eyes because of your past stories, your past history. So there is no real truth in any of it. But you look at both sides of it and you're just like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what is truth. I don't know what actually happened. I don't know even now what's AI created. I have myself literally second guessing movie trailers going, that was created by AI just because the tone and the contrast is a little bit different, or because it's such high quality, or because the person's makeup is extremely good. I'm like, oh no, that looks like, oh, they created that AI. And
okay.
so I know you're writing notes down, and I'm like,
I am, yeah, man. This is
I'm
great
like
stuff, right?
I'm like, it is so crazy because especially from that mental health side, or for men that wanna provide, wanna protect, wanna fix things, wanna help people out, or wanna find a relationship, it is such a hard thing. How do we work through, I mean, you've been on the planet, I'm gonna say it, Steven, you've been on the planet longer than I have. You were talking about things when I was 2 that you were doing when I was 2.
Thanks for reminding me. Thanks for bringing that
You're
up.
welcome, Steven,
I'm gonna write that down in case I
in
forget.
case you forget, yeah, in case the dementia kicks in, remember, you have knowledge,
Ah,
you're not
it's
aged.
you're making it worse. No fear whatsoever. He's going
No,
right for the
no,
he's
I
going
got
right for
no
the throat.
yeah, I got
I
no
know.
fear, no, but it's all from it's a knowledge, again, it's learning,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
it's that whole thing of learn from your elders. It's don't like to, call you an elder or any, but again, you have more knowledge than I do. I'm digging that hole deeper,
That's 4 times in 60 seconds,
I
buddy.
know, I'm
All
digging that hole deeper, but again, it's that learning
right.
from people that have more knowledge than you, and
Well,
so
uh, I think we pretty much know the same things, but here's what I would say. This is all happening for us, not to
again,
us,
there it is, yep,
right? So now once you've got that belief, then you have to, if you're committed to it, then you have to find out why is it happening for us, right? If you're committed to the belief.
yeah,
The belief doesn't give you the answer. The belief commits you to finding the answer, right?
yeah.
So this is what I believe. This is my opinion. I don't know this for sure, except I'm always right. I'm just kidding.
Love it, love it.
So anyway, where are we looking for truth? Where are we looking for it?
Where do we look for truth?
Outside of us,
Outside of
right?
us, yeah, yeah, yeah.
In the politics and religion and you name it, relationships, we're all looking for truth. It doesn't exist there.
Uh,
It exists within you.
yes.
So what we're being forced to do without us realizing it consciously, and this is going to get worse before it gets better, Chris, right? So eventually, where are people going to go? They're going to go within themselves
Mhm.
because there's nowhere left to go. God is not just outside of us. God is within us, whatever you want to call that. The universe, God, spirit, Bill, Frank, whoever, whatever you want to call it, right? Is within us. And we have divine guidance if we connect with it. What do you call that? Intuition,
Yeah.
right? You just know, and you do. How many times have you been in a situation where inside you felt like, this is not going to be good, but you did it anyway? And later on you go, man, I knew I should have done that because
Yep.
you did,
Yeah.
right? Or you got scared of doing something, but you knew it was the right thing to do. You didn't do it. And later on go, and I wish I'd have done that. I
Yeah.
knew I should have done it, right? So we all have this. Now, what we're going to do is, you talked about this earlier. And if you want to build muscle, what do you have to do? You have to
Gotta
break it
do the
to the
repetitions.
gym. You have
Yeah.
to work at it, right?
Yeah.
So our intuition is something that we've got to become conscious of, first of all, get better and better at listening to it, better and better at trusting in it. Because do you know that your intuition is faster than your mind can think?
Yeah.
Thousands faster. So, how much easier would it be if we as a race, as a consciousness, can get to the point where I don't need to go and think about it for 2 hours? I just know.
Yeah.
Much easier will life be, right? And if we can trust in that intuition, right? Now that's like it's a very fine line, right? It's
Mm.
you got to really get down to the fineness of it. So, if you want to play a violin, you got to get really good at feeling the strings. It's not easy. It takes effort. It takes time, but eventually you can play beautiful music. And I believe, again, it's my opinion, it's just my belief, but I believe that all this stuff is happening for us so that we stop going outside of ourselves, looking for answers outside of ourselves in
Mm.
anybody else, but within ourselves, and really starting to have a strong trust and belief in that we have the capability. The other thing I'll just say about this, and again, it's a belief. So we can use a cell phone, right? And a cell phone, wireless, you can talk to someone on the other side of the world, correct?
We're doing it right now.
We're doing it right now. Exactly. Good point. That's my age. I forget about that. So anyway, so, yeah. So think about this, right? Most people believe in an all powerful, omnipresent, all loving God, right?
Mm.
That created everything in the universe. So you're telling me that you think men are smarter than God. What? Well, if you think that men has figured out how to talk to you on the other side of the world, you don't think God knows how to do that?
Yeah.
You don't think you can talk to other people on the other side of the world without a cell phone? This is just a crutch that you think you need and you believe you need. You don't.
Mm.
You have the power with your creative thought. You've heard of, what do they call it? Remote viewing, right?
Yes.
That you can see a different, from something on the other side of the world. It's true. It can happen. CIA have used it. It's there. So we have these incredible powers within it. There's a great author. His name is Greg Braden.
Uh-huh.
And he says, that there's nothing outside of you that doesn't exist within you.
Yeah, true.
There is a 1.15 volts of electricity in every cell of your body. How many cells do you have in your body? Trillions.
Mm.
We have enough power inside of our body to light up a city.
Yeah.
The problem is we can't connect that energy. You know why?
Mm.
You know why?
No.
Because we're not supposed to yet. Because we haven't developed as a consciousness to where we would use it in a way that wouldn't destroy us. Because if you imagine that you can create at that level
Mm.
and somebody annoyed you and you went, "The dead," we destroy each other,
Yeah,
right?
we would. Yeah.
We have that capacity, but we've got to get to a level of consciousness where we would never want to.
Yeah.
And then when we have that inside of us, Chris, what we've created is a frequency, a vibration inside of our body that will allow us to activate those parts of our DNA that we as human beings have never activated yet. And that's where our powers really are. But we won't be able to access them until we're ready, individually and collectively.
Yeah.
So it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's for sure. A
Yeah.
lot worse. Right?
Yeah.
But it will lead us to whatever you want to call it, the other side, Nirvana, whatever it will be. It's going to happen. It will happen. And the sooner we have people like yourself and people like me, although I probably don't have long to live.
So, as I say, there's people like yourself as well. Lots to
Well,
share.
I'm not going to live much longer according to you, so you're going to have to take the man out of you, right?
Nah, nah,
But
you'll live ages because we've got all this science that's helping us live
I know.
forever.
No, yeah, yeah. I'm kidding. I'm going to live a long time, so you're going to have to just accept that, and I'm going to hound you and annoy you. But hopefully, we're going to have many more great conversations.
We will.
Yeah. So it is important what we're doing because we're helping to raise the consciousness. You're helping men get back to who they really are. And let's face it, man, we've been beaten down, right? Because when the pendulum swings, it doesn't swing perfectly to the middle, right? So There's no question that we lived in a male-dominated, patriotic world for a long time, and we beat the shit out of women, right? We took
Yeah.
advantage, no question. But the pendulum has swung the other way,
Yeah.
right? Like, women can treat you really badly, but if you said any of that stuff to a woman, you'd be vilified, right? Right? You just couldn't do it.
Well, even up
Um,
until just a couple years ago, this podcast would have probably gotten shut down.
Probably, yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, so there you go. Right?
Huh.
So what we have to do is we have to be able to, we've been encouraging women to step in their power. Now we need to step back in ours, right? So that it's equal. I'm not saying that we
And we're
don't
not
want
taking anything away from women
no,
that they have, but what we're doing is we're actually going, okay, cool. Where's this balancing act? Because we've lost too much. We've lost not that men have lost their, yes, in some ways men have lost their rights in certain things, but it's that, yeah, as you're saying, it's that I'm trying to put the word to it. It's that finding balance in a way. I'm not a huge fan of the word balance because I don't believe that there's any really ever any balance. It's you got to sacrifice something to get something. My boss and I were talking about this about work life balance the other day, and we're like, no, it's work life sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice some of your personal life for work, or you're going to sacrifice some of your work life for personal. There's no in between.
absolutely.
But how it's this cool. How do we live in synchronicity as men and women, so women can do whatever they want to do, but at the same time guys are not diminished down into the as men, and aren't diminished down into becoming extremely feminine, which is what I personally, again my opinion, have seen that there's this massive rise of feminine women that aren't actually feminine,
Right.
and then because they've been forced that you have to be this way, otherwise you don't fit in,
Yeah.
and society just wants to fit in. Us as people just want to fit in. Um,
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you about balance too. It's nonsense, right?
mm,
That's just not realistic, right? There are certain times when you're going to be more balanced than others. There are times you're going to be completely out of balance, right? That's life.
yeah.
Otherwise, how could you live a life?
How do you grow as well with that?
Yeah, you can't, man.
Mm,
And if you're just going to be balanced the whole time, why are you here?
yeah,
We're
yeah.
here to have experiences. We're here to enjoy this life. We're here to have extremes. And the further you go on the extreme, the wider your extreme gets.
Yeah.
And the more, so there's all kinds of famous people have written beautiful things about, is not the flute that you play carved with knives,
Mm,
right? Is not the pot from which you drink burned in the potter's oven, right? So the further we go, pleasure, pain, the more we can relate to others. And that's our deepest desire is to be able to connect, right?
mm,
To not be separate, but to be part of the oneness, right?
yeah.
To be connected, right? So, and Tony talks about with the six human needs,
Yeah.
certainty, variety, connection, significance, growth, and contribution. And we need all of them, right? Not just one, because if we just have one, we lose the other, right? And then we go completely out of balance. Like a lot of people are so driven to connect with people that they give up their significance.
Yeah.
They get connection, but nobody respects them.
Yeah. Or certainty, and so they don't do anything that's to any kind of variety.
There you go. Yeah, so
Mm,
there it is, right? So, we can make it sound easy. It isn't, it's
yeah.
complex. It's complex, but, we can make it easier for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We could say, "Look, the more I try and get the truth from the media," right, which is a joke now, right? The media or from somebody else, right? Or from anything that's outside of myself, the more I'm gonna get the runaround and feel frustrated.
Yeah.
The sooner I can go within myself and trust my instincts,
Mhm.
instincts, intuition, whatever you call it. We know what's right and wrong. Who doesn't know what's right and wrong? We
Yeah.
all know. If I do this because your conscience is telling you,
Yeah.
right? If I shoot this person, it's probably not a good idea, right? I'm probably gonna
Unless you're a
there's gonna be
psychopath, and then yeah, I guess you
yeah,
have no
exactly.
conscience.
Then you don't care. You don't care anymore,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so we have this innate ability that everything we need is within us. Everything you could ever need is within you. And again, if you can just start to believe that, I mean, really believe it viscerally, right?
Yeah.
Then you start to pull out of yourself what you need. So when we're drawn to somebody else and say, "Oh, he's so confident," what is that saying? I
Yeah.
want to bring more out of that myself.
Yeah.
I want to and because you're recognizing something in that person that exists within you and you're yearning for you to experience it yourself. You know, Tony used to say to me, listen, nobody, nobody really, uh, uh, what people want is they don't want to listen to me. They want to be me.
Yeah.
They want to be that way themselves, but they're not prepared to put the work in.
Yeah. And that's why people go to dozens and dozens and dozens of Tony Robbins show and get then
Oh, man,
yeah,
there's people that are every one.
yeah,
You know, you can pick them out. They're every one, but then they're not doing anything for themselves. They're just trying to be around Tony,
yeah.
thinking that that's gonna be enough for them to be like him, right?
Or going to Tony's events and not actually putting the action in after the event. The
That's what
amount
I'm
of
saying.
people I know somebody that I met at the Day with Destiny who ran a multi six figure business helping people the 30 to 90 days after a Tony event to actually implement everything they
Yeah,
learned.
yeah. Well, he has all the NLP coaches there,
Yeah.
to help people at the event, because one of the things you said earlier, when you had a partner at David Destiny, they disappeared because
Mhm.
they were probably facing stuff in themselves that they
Yeah.
just couldn't handle, right, at the
Yeah.
time, and that's why it has those people there just in case. But what was also interesting about that when you were talking about the way you were feeling about, not caring anymore, not caring whether
Mhm.
you lived or died. But you know where you've been there that there are lots of people at that event in the exact same position that you would
Worse.
never know, or worse, right?
Yeah.
Never have known. But the way he does it,
Oh,
the way he brings people together, it's like they just pop. It just
yeah.
pops.
It
And
does.
then they don't have any fear anymore. They're like, this is who I am and this is where I am right now. And
Yeah.
it's like help. Right? They're ready to ask for help.
Yes,
And
then that's why they're all there, and I actually had to remind myself that first day that we do of Date with Destiny at the end that I won't spoil alert, but, he does some stuff which you're probably aware of at the end of the night talking about yourself, and I was like afterwards, I was like, "I'm a cop and there's all these kinds of people in here? Yeah, no way," and then had to remind myself and actually had I think my wife or somebody said it, or maybe it was the second day after you've been put into your groups, that I was like one of the people in there was like, "Chris, like, why are you like, remember why you're here because they're here for the same reason."
yeah,
And then, yeah, also my anxiety would go through the roof. Again, just that fear of not being able to control things, not being able to be in charge of things with 5,000 people in the room. And I was like, "Oh my God, like I don't know if I can like be in here." And again, that same person was like, "Okay, Chris, well, yes, you've got more training probably than most people in this room. Uh, okay, cool. What's the worst case scenario?" And I was like, I could go the list is longer than my arm that I could come up with worst case scenarios in here. She's like, "Okay, cool. Well, what are you actually afraid of?" And had been to one of these events before. So let's just preface this. She knew the stuff that we're talking about now. And the reason I'm saying this is because guys, we overcomplicate everything in our heads is what it came down to. And she was like, "Chris, like, okay, cool. Mass shooter comes in here, or somebody goes on a rampage in here. Yet it's a room of people that want to grow, but let's just put it out there. Worst case, something goes crazy in here. What are you going to do?" Well, my wife's over there, my mom's over there. So I'm going to go straight to my wife first. Then I'm going to grab my mom on the way out, and then I'll probably, she's like, "Cool. Well, what are you gonna, where are the exits?" And I was like, "There's six of them in here, and there." And she goes, "Well, you just told me where two are that I didn't even know about behind the curtains. So, okay, cool." She's like, "Okay, you've got your plan. You've got like, now rely on your training because that was just your training." I was like, "Oh my God, yes." Like, and so used that so many times since at concerts, adults, because again, we overcomplicate everything in our heads.
yeah,
We're
definitely.
complicated machines that aren't actually that complicated.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not saying in your situation as well, different than what I was thinking of, but there can be too much training
Yes.
in the arena of psychology because what that can do, if you know all that stuff and you know all the linguistics, you can build walls around yourself that are
Oh,
just impossible
can
to
use it for good or evil within
yeah,
ourselves, on other people, or any of it.
positive or negative. Yeah. And you can trap yourself within those because if you're so afraid to be exposed, no one's going to get around those walls, right?
No.
Because you know how to divert, you know how to justify, you know how to deflect. And so that can be dangerous for you too. And you know why I'm saying that? Because that happened to me,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
So I
I was
was
gonna
doing
say,
it, right?
I've had it happen multiple times on myself, and yeah, it's
Right? And what you think you're doing is you're turning it back, and you think, "Well, I'm helping this person," right?
Yeah,
And people used to say to me, "Man, now you remember things later you didn't hear at the time."
yeah,
People say, "Steven, you're an amazing coach." But let me ask you a question. Who coaches you? Right?
yeah.
And I would go, "Well, I read these books," and it'd go round and round we go,
Yeah,
right?
books and there's so much knowledge out there, we don't need any more knowledge, we just need people to actually hold the mirror up for ourselves, and that's where you and I talked about before we even hit the record button around my wife and I, the episode that my wife and I did, we have conversations like that weekly, if not multiple times a week, and she will challenge my brain beyond probably anyone, and years ago, we because I used to use her as, like, a coach without her being my coach, and she came to me one time, she identified it, she's like, "Chris, I can't be your coach, your wife, your business person,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I can't be all I wanna just be your wife," and again, that's that focus thing. I was like, "Oh, wow." So then I end up getting somebody that I knew from an event, a different event, not a Tony one, but was like, "Can we, like, trade coaching? Because we both, like, when we get on calls, we coach each other anyway, so why don't we just make this a regular thing and we'll trade coaching back and forth?" So I helped her with some fitness stuff, some mindset stuff, NLP stuff as well, and then she helped me as well, and my biggest thing at that time was because I've identified around that time that I thrive under chaos, i.e., why I was a great cop, and I was like, "I want to shift this, I wanna create more calm in my life." Go figure, about 6, 8 months later, I created
Mhm.
so much calm that I shut my business down and decided to go back to 9 to 5 and go into sales and be like, "Cool, I don't want the chaos of trying to find money, I want that certainty." And so
Mm.
I went back into that, and because again, it had to do with policing. Policing caused so much chaos in my life just being so emotionally involved in it
Yeah, yeah.
that I was like, "Oh, no, I've gotta," and the values started not line up with me and, like, law enforcement. I did a 3-month thing in the US trying to get some mental wellness, and I tried to jump too far and lost focus of why I started the business. The business was to help the get cops in to then change the culture of policing. I tried to go to the end of the racetrack and tried to change everything. And I saw the values of everything, and it just hit me with like a ton of bricks. And I was like, I'm trying to create calm in my life at this time. This is just too much chaos for me right now. But that was all through coaching. It was all through getting myself coached, like you said yourself.
Yeah.
You getting coached? You're like, who's your coach? And it's like, well, I coach myself. Yeah, I'm good at that.
Who's gonna be better than me?
Yeah, who's gonna be better than me? I mean, let's get real. It's either Tony Robbins or me. Like, there's no in between. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
no problem, and I'm cheaper.
A lot cheaper.
Think of the money I'm saving,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly. It's such an investment.
all BS,
It's
right?
such an investment.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Uh,
so but, going back to what you said earlier, it's like men and women are different.
we
Uh,
are, and
we
we should be.
Exactly, exactly, we need to embrace that. We wanna fix things and the missus just wants you to shut up and listen, right? I don't need you to fix it, I just wanna talk about it.
Have you seen that the nail in the head video? It's not about
Mm.
the nail. You got a YouTube
Yeah,
video. It's called It's not about the nail.
right, 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 it's not about
Yeah,
them.
yeah, and the guy and woman are sitting on the couch, and she's sitting there going, "Oh my god, I've got this headache, and it's so bad, and it's been going on for so long," and she's got this nail in her forehead, and the
Mhm.
guy's like, "But it's just," and she's like, "No, it's like blah blah blah," and he's like, "There's a nail in your forehead, just pull it out." She's like, "No, no, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not the nail. It's the blah blah," and goes on and on and on and on, and he goes, "It's okay, sweetie, I love you," like, and gives her a big hug, and that's all. It's like because it's not
Brilliant.
about the nail.
Yeah, yeah. True, man. And we have the hardest time getting that.
Oh,
It's like it's
oh,
like a it's like an impulse. It's like it's so difficult
yeah,
because she's saying this stuff and you go, yeah, but if you just did
yeah,
you could do and they're like, not interested. I'm not here to fix it. I'm here to just talk about it and feel better after I've got it out. And we would be wise to adopt that ourselves
yeah.
sometimes.
Oh,
We don't need our buddies to fix it. We don't need our wife to fix it. Sometimes we need to talk, but most men don't because they're shut down because they don't want anybody to feel they're weak, right?
yes.
That they have any problems, that they got it. And that goes into, when you were talking about the 3 Ps earlier, right? We've got to protect. And so we feel sometimes if we show any vulnerability that we might be showing our partner weakness and they may not feel we can protect it.
Yep.
So all this bullshit that goes on inside, man, it's insane, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we live in an insane world. I mean, literally, this world is insane. What we
Yeah.
do as a race of people is, I mean, you can imagine if an alien came to Earth and we said, yeah, so we got these over here. These are cars, right? Oh, yeah. Where do you get those from? Well, you get them from a car dealership. Oh, yeah. Well, how do you get them? Well, you buy them. Okay. Well, how do you buy them? Well, what you do is you borrow the money, right? Okay, so you could take the car back to the dealership if you don't want it anymore and get your money back, right? Well, yeah, no, because once you drive the car, it loses 30% of its value. Okay, wait a minute. Let me just get this right. You buy this car, you borrow money from somewhere else and you pay interest on it. And the moment you drive it, it loses 30% of its value. And do you guys think this is normal? You think this is sane, right? But we just don't think about it because everybody's doing it, right?
Yep. We're a bunch of
So,
lemurs. We're a bunch of lemurs, and or
you
what's
know what?
that? What
We
what's
are.
what's the bird that just walks off the cliff following itself?
Yeah, the lemmings.
Lemmings. That's the one. Yeah, lemmings.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. We do some unbelievable stuff, but we gotta laugh at ourselves, but we gotta
I mean,
realize, we gotta look for answers that are not coming from so this is where you can really start getting into conspiracy theories, right? Where we're programmed from being a child to believe things that are simply not true, and the people who run things, we call them they, right? We never define who they are, but these people, right? Whoever they are, program us from being children to live a certain kind of life. Like, I didn't even go to college, right? I barely went to school. But the schools that I went to, I don't know where you went, but it was getting us ready to go get a job.
yep.
Wasn't teaching us how to open a bank account, run finances, take care of a home, find a wife, any of these things that you need to
How to
know.
actually succeed in life.
Exactly. It was all about you got to get a job.
Mhm. Teach you the knowledge so that you can be the best at what you do in a job.
Exactly. Working for the man, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Mhm.
Um, and never ever having freedom, but being told you will. Work. Keep your head down, work hard, save money. You're gonna, get a retirement, retire at 65 or whatever it is, right? And you're gonna be good. You're golden. Everyone's going, okay.
Yeah, especially when you're, 15, 16, 18, you're like, "Yeah, cool, I can get a piece of that. That sounds pretty good."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's starting to crumble now, for
So
sure.
one of the things I do, which I haven't mentioned, is I teach investing, right?
Ah,
Mostly through real estate and debt. And I say to people, I get an audience and I'll say, so I'm going to say some things here that you've been taught. Tell me if you can relate to these things. Time is money. They go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, time is money," right? The harder you work, the more money you're gonna make. "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah," right? So all these things that people have been programmed, they'll say, "Well, first of all, time is not money." And you go, "Yeah, come on, everybody knows that time is money." So I say, "Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Can you replace money?" "Well, yeah." I'm not saying it's easy, but you can replace money, right? "Yeah." "Can you replace time?" "No."
yeah,
So how can they be the same thing? So wealthy people know that time is their most valuable resource, and they do not work for money. They make money work for them.
mhm,
They don't do it themselves. They make you do it. And they're using the primary tool to creation of wealth. It's one of the most powerful tools in the universe, forces in the universe, the power of leverage.
yeah,
Leverage other people's money, leverage other people's time, leverage other people's knowledge. And I use the example of saying, hey, listen, if you think of a factory, right? Not that there's many factories anymore, but imagine a factory that has 5,000 employees doing the work. The owner of the factory is on vacation most of the time. But even if they weren't, could they do all the work of 5,000 people?
nope,
So what principle are they using? Leverage. But what they never do is tell you what they're doing and how to do it.
mm,
They just tell you, go to school, get good grades, get a job, save for the long term, and you'll be fine. And now, I don't know about where in New Zealand, but here in America, people are almost dying. They're eating dog and cat food, some of these people that have retired, believing that was gonna be true.
Yeah.
So everything doesn't always happen with a fairy tale ending, right? But hopefully those people become the example or what Tony would call the warning of don't fall into the same trap.
Yeah.
What's happening in our world now, so again, this is happening for us because it's forcing people to not have a job
Mm.
as
AI.
busy well, AI, but also you gotta be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that gives you more freedom, right? You learn more, but to do that, most people are too afraid because they've been programmed. You got to have a job, you got to have a paycheck coming in every week because otherwise, how are you going to pay your bills? And so you've got to face that fear. You got to take
Yeah.
a leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
And see that that is where you're actually going to have much more freedom and a quality of life that you'll never have working for somebody else and feeling resentful that you have to do it, that you don't have a choice and that you're in a prison. And that's
Yeah.
how so many people feel, right? So
Yeah, it's so true. Off the back of that, because obviously running my own business, being an entrepreneur for a while, closing it down, really, I haven't started anything else new. We'll probably end up doing something at some stage, but it's with the mindset that I have. What's your thoughts on that? Which I'm also time conscious, so I think we need to set up another conversation to talk about the provide P, which is the investing side of things and the business side. But before we go, because I wanna know this question. I'm curious on your answer to this question. Obviously, being an entrepreneur is. I'm just put it out there. It is hard. It is the hardest thing you probably will ever do because you have the pressure of everything, especially when you're a solopreneur, not a full-on entrepreneur. And there's a big gap between getting there and getting coaching and getting assistance, like sounds like from yourself, things like that. It accelerates that, like we've talked about today. But I want to talk about the necessity of having the person like myself right now, who is the business development manager at a large hotel in a large hotel chain, and the requirement that we actually have to have those people as well, and not everybody's built for to be an entrepreneur. What's your thought or input on that side of the coin?
you mean getting coaching?
No, the side of we actually need the person who's not the entrepreneur. Society still needs the person that's not the entrepreneur. And then how do you go from having to have that person, and not everybody is actually built to be an entrepreneur, to still surviving through life? Because I look at it right now differently. My wife and I are both salary paid. Yes, I have a little bit of a side business kind of going on because of my experience for about 8 years doing my own business, but there's no income coming in on that one right now because I haven't started it back up. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we're both salary because we like that consistent wage. We also like to take the vacation when we do, and we're more about experiences than me sitting in my office for 15 hours a day starting up a business right now.
Okay. So that is definitely another
Podcast.
conversation that could take a long time, right? I'll try and bring it down
Yeah,
into a
if you
reason
just brief it, just alley oop it for the next
but,
episode.
every time you're talking, you notice this, right? I'm freaking writing notes like
I
crazy,
know,
right?
you're like, we could there's so many episodes that we
But
could do,
anyway,
I can tell off your notes.
let me answer a little bit as best I can, approach it, right? So you said a very important, powerful word, and that is solopreneur, right? So it's very difficult to get there from being a solopreneur. So we have to learn how to leverage, right? And that's a whole conversation. That's a whole show, how you can do that with no money to begin with, and what you have, what you don't realize that you have that you can leverage, right?
Okay,
There's a tremendous
let's I'm gonna put it out there. We'll set it up after we're done here.
perfect, perfect. So when we talk about the necessity of people that are not going to be entrepreneurs, and there are some people who are not meant to be entrepreneurs, that's a belief, right?
Mm,
So we've got to destroy that belief, and things are happening that are destroying that belief. One of the things you mentioned is AI, right?
mm,
So there is nothing that AI isn't going to be able to do except the things that only we can do as human beings.
mm.
Use our intuition,
Yes,
use
true.
faith, use our ability to connect, use our knowledge, which is unique because no one's lived the life that you have. I don't care how smart AI is, it hasn't lived the life of a human being.
Yeah.
And whenever I meet people, and I've done a lot of my own mind, body, spirit events where I do transformations for people, similar to Tony, a little bit different, but my own spin on it, right? And as you meet so many people, I'm always blown away by the lives they've lived and they don't even realize it. And I'll say at one point, so great. So when is the book coming out? And they go, book? What do you mean? Well, you don't realize? You don't know? You've got an amazing book inside of you. I can already see the things that you were telling me about. It's like I'm watching a movie. Well, people have already written about all that stuff. Yeah, but you haven't.
Yeah.
You've got a unique perspective that you will reach that I could never reach.
Mm,
They'll listen to you. They will connect with your frequency, your vibration, right? So these are the things that we're going to do as human beings. Now there's going to be a bridge, right? So a lot of people are going to get into how do you get the best out of AI? You got to be able to prompt it. You got to ask the right questions to do all that. So there's going to be stepping stones, but ultimately it's going to be, we are going to be free and independent and we're going to find what our passion is. We've all had different experiences in our lives that can be shared with others and be a gift, right? We all have unique creative gifts, every soul on earth, right? That's my belief. I can't prove it to you. I just believe it from my own experience, right? So, when I thought you were going to coaching, it's basically the same thing we're talking about. We can all learn from each other. In every spiritual practice, it tells you that there's never a meeting between two individuals that does not contain a gift for both people, right? There's something there for you to learn, there's something for you to give. But one of the things that I say a lot and show at a more not quite as a deeper level, but you say, look, do professional golfers have coaches?
yes.
They all do. Every one of them. Not there's no exception to that. Do amateurs have coaches? Very rarely. So you've got to realize that you can gain from a mentor, like you talk about David Destiny. You can learn from them in a matter of days that could take you decades to learn through experience, right? So that's a key. Um, And then I would just say, look, we are built to be entrepreneurs. I would challenge your belief about
Mm,
that because if you think about it, when a baby's born, does the midwife go to the doctor and say, "Doctor, look, another entrepreneur," right? So
no.
we're molded into not being entrepreneurs, but we're naturally entrepreneurs. We have a natural entrepreneurial spirit that is taken away from us by indoctrination, programming, or whatever we want to think of. Now we can reprogram, as you know, you've reprogrammed yourself, right?
Mm,
So if you can reprogram yourself, other people can. Now it doesn't mean change people.
mm,
Who you are at the core, your personality is gonna is there, right? You can't change that, and if you try, you'll fail, right? But you can change what you believe. You can change the things you think, the things you say, and the actions you take. You can change that, but you'll still be you, right? Uh, so it's a process. I'm an entrepreneur, and I suck at it, right? Every business I've started has probably failed, right?
yeah.
So what? Because I wasn't doing it to succeed.
Yeah.
I was doing it because I was passionate about it, right?
Yeah. You have to pick
And
something that you're passionate about.
yeah, and the
So
other
true.
thing crucial, and then I'm gonna shut up. The other thing that is critical is don't get attached.
Yeah.
Don't get attached to things, material things. So, in the book, I don't know if you know this or not, the book, I'm living in a mansion. I've got a Rolls Royce, a Bentley. I'm making $1 million a year, which is, a long way from being truly wealthy. But it was for me coming as a kid from a little town in England. That was a lot
Yeah.
of money. But my point is, people would say to me, Stephen, you've got all these amazing things and what an amazing life. And I would say, yeah, they're nice to have, but I'll be just the same person without them
Mm.
because I'm not attached to them. Right.
My
And
wife and I say all the time, money just exaggerates who you already are.
exactly. It magnifies who you
Yeah,
are.
magnifies
Exactly.
who you are.
Yeah. 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 So I'm actually, I don't have those things anymore. And I'm happy because possessions, think of the word
Mm.
possessed.
Yeah.
You're possessed by them. right? You don't possess them, they possess you. And you have to make all kinds of sacrifices with your time
Yeah.
to get them and to keep them.
Yes, very true.
So in a way, you're in a prison, right? So there's a great quote I like, a great saying I like to use: "Less is more."
It's true.
And I say you must do less to have more. People go, "Whoa, what do you mean? We're told you got to do more to have more." No, how's that working for you so far? Well, yeah, no, not very well, right? So by doing less means you've got to use leverage.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do it all yourself, bring other people into your mission, your vision, and your purpose, and make sure their mission, vision, and purpose is a part of yours and that they're achieving what they want to do as a result of helping you get where you want to go. So it's collaboration, not competitive, right? When
Yeah.
you collaborate, we can do amazing things together. When we
Yeah.
compete, it separates us and we're not able to do the same.
Yeah, no, totally agree on that one. All right, I have so many questions about things and want to dives down so many rabbit holes in this because it is something that I am passionate about as well. Both sides of it, and like I try and with that entrepreneur and having an employee, like I try and kind of be the devil's advocate at sometimes with it.
Well, we'll have a talk offline, you and I, about
Yeah,
some
we'll
things.
have a talk. We'll have a talk offline, but also I think we need to also have put it on a recording as well because I think it'll be really good for people, especially with this whole AI and revolution, let's call it, because that really is what's happening, and things are changing. They're changing extremely fast. I'm not hugely into it, like watching it, but I am watching it from the side. And I'm like, yeah, like there's going to be a lot of changes in the next decade, a lot. Just watching how fast it's advanced in just the last 2 years, to be perfectly honest. Um,
Yeah. We're actually gonna see unbelievable change in the next 12 months.
yeah,
Radical, radical change.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I'd love to have that conversation, man. I have so thoroughly enjoyed this. I even forgot I wrote a book.
There we go. So before I ask you the final question that I always ask, how do people get in touch with you, and how do people, if they want to, hear more from you, or also how do people get a copy of the book?
Okay, so I'm a very private person, so I don't give out any information. I'm just
Cool.
kidding. So my website my website is the best way to get it. And what I would say is, look, I'm not here to sell books. I'd like to get to know you. I'd like to get to you to get to know me and more about what I write about. I think, just being on a podcast and then saying, go buy my book, that's a big leap.
Yeah.
So go to my website. There's a ton of great information on there, which I think you'll be interested in. You can get a free book, which is kind of a chapter that I didn't put in the book that kind of reflects the book. It's free, right? It's called The Venus Flytrap: Madness and Mayhem. And it gives you kind of a taste of what the book is like. There's all kinds of other things on there that I think you'll find intriguing and interesting. Venus, no, it's the what is my website address? It's VFT23 at at me dot com. VFT23.com. That's it.
.com. Perfect. Okay, cool. Excellent.
See, I can't remember my own website. I'm
Hey,
terrible at
hey, again, but like you said, it made you, this conversation made it, made you feel like, oh, I forgot I wrote a book. Yeah, I did
Who
do that.
cares? Who
Yeah, who
cares?
cares? We just had a great time.
Yeah.
No, I've had a great time as well, Stephen. It's been amazing to have the conversation with you. We've talked about so many different things, uh, which I love. That's why I love doing these conversations. We start to talk about one thing and then it becomes something completely different, and then we end up having second conversations. I have people that, since I rebranded this, I've had them on a couple times that I had on my old Fight the Burnout podcast 2 or 3 times as well. So it's building those connections, and it's just sharing the knowledge that we have.
Mhm.
If you could hand every man on the planet a single insight that would unlock his potential to lead, love, and live with purpose, what would you tell him?
It's a phrase. It's a Mayan phrase. In Lakesh Alama. And what it means is it's similar to namaste, but it's different. Namaste recognizes the divine within you, both. And that phrase recognizes the mirror that we are to each other. Another way of saying that is, I am you, you are me, we are one. And if you can really envelop that belief that we're all connected, then you won't want to do anything to anybody. You'll just want to help them because they're you. What I do for you, I do for me. What I fail to do for you, I fail to do for myself.
True. So true. That has me thinking. Thank you for that. I
You're
appreciate
very
that.
welcome. Very welcome, man. Um, yeah, it's been a blast, man. I can't wait for us to do it again. I am going to do my own podcast. I'm going to start it soon. And of course, you have to come on. You have
Oh,
no choice. So
of
you'll be on
course.
there as well. I can't promise that we won't spend all day talking. So make sure you clear your schedule.
That's fine. Well, I'll just make sure that whole day is clear.
That's right. And so it's perfect today, man. That's how miraculous and perfect is that?
Yeah.
That we've been able to talk for as long as we wanted. I didn't have to go to any of the meetings. You didn't have to go to any of the meetings. It just worked out perfectly. So I feel blessed and grateful.
And thank you, man. I feel grateful as well. Thank you for sharing the knowledge that you have with us. Thank you for sharing the knowledge that you are out there with everybody. And yeah, everybody, I will say this. I always ask that you just share this episode out with the one person that kind of popped into your head. The one person that popped in at some stage, just share it with them because you thought about them for a reason. Again, everything happens for us, as Stephen has mentioned many times, as we've talked about today. And also, if you can, please like and subscribe if you aren't already, because we do try and get as many of these episodes and conversations out. If you do know somebody that you're like, hey, I'd really love to hear this person on the podcast, drop their name in the comments below, and I will reach out to them personally. And then also, if you want to be on, or if you just want to, send us an email, you want to say something, maybe you don't like what we're talking about, cool. That is totally fine as well. You can email us at brotherhood@motivatedmasculinemen.com, and all those are in the description button down below. Again, my motto is train hard, test easy, because we are always training not just the body, which that's where it started from, but we're also training the mind, because we are always being tested in some way. And again, that comes down into everything's happening for us, and they're all tests to help us grow. So till next time, we love you all. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you, Stephen, for being here, and we will talk to you all very soon.